I'm Joyce Hornady. You might say accuracy is my business. I make bullets.
You are listening to the Hornady Podcast.
Thanks for joining us and enjoy the show.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Hornady Podcast. I'm your host, Seth Swerczek. Today, Preston Lentfer, marketeer extraordinaire, to my left, special guest, Geoff Nemnich on the show. Geoff, thanks for coming on the show.
Great to be on here, fellas.
Preston?
Absolutely.
It's past
Rifle
Nebraska
season's
rifle
over.
season. It's over. It's gone. And what a deplorable season it was.
It was, but you know what that means now?
I do.
You don't have to have a specific tag or wear orange to go kill coyotes.
Yeah. Yeah, Nebraska's got an interesting thing where if you want to shoot coyotes, that's great. But
Do it
if it's-
anytime.
If it's during
Almost.
rifle season, you have to have an unfilled rifle tag for that unit, which seems a little invasive to me, in my opinion. But I digress.
If you look at it from their side, it makes some sense.
It does, because you are guilty until you're proven innocent.
Sometimes.
Yep. So before we get political, Geoff, now everybody knows you from, a couple decades worth of being the coyote guy. Obviously, you got coyote craze going on, The Last Stand. I guarantee you right now today, 11:06 in the a.m., if you go to Hornady Manufacturing, I could think of a handful of people, Ryan Damon, Judd, Matt Ritchie, few guys in tech. There's a good chance that somebody has a The Last Stand video on one of their computer monitors right now.
Yeah.
It's obviously a wonderful show you guys put together. So,
Hopefully my boss doesn't listen to this, but mine was on yesterday.
right. Well, what I want to do with this podcast, because we could talk a lot of different topics, but what I think your expertise could really help our listener is, I feel like a lot of folks, I think about my dad, for example, or me, for example, just a lot of us, we want to take coyote hunting a little bit more serious than just a target of opportunity, because there's a lot of us that'll see a coyote when we see one. But I want to turn it up a notch. So you get the e-call. Okay, well, how do I use this e-call? There's a few things, but okay, I get a rifle, I get the e-call, I get some land. Well, okay, you got that. You took it to the next level, and you're probably going to kill more coyotes. But how do you use all that system together to kill more coyotes? Because it's one thing to talk about it, the other thing to be about it. So you got the stuff, you paid the money, you got the rifle, you got the call, you get the land. Well, how do I use it all together to maximize the number of coyotes that I kill? Because that's what it's all about. I love going out anytime, but it's way more fun when I actually shoot
It's a lot better
coyote.
if you get one.
So
Yeah.
I want to hear your expertise on how to kill more coyotes, how to use the equipment the right way to kill more coyotes. And we were talking before recording, there's actually a couple things that seem counterintuitive to killing more coyotes. We'll cover those at the end, but they're counterintuitive at face value, but they actually make sense if you're really trying to maximize the amount of dogs that you can kill. So, Geoff, from your perspective, what are you going to do to maximize? How do I kill more coyotes?
Well, for me, it all boils down to efficiency and probabilities.
Math guy.
Statistics.
Yeah, it really is, right? I mean, you and I were talking about this earlier. Like, the weird part about coyote hunting is it doesn't really translate from in a lot of other types of hunting, right? Like, so your dad, for example, he's hunted deer his whole life, probably waterfowl, all kinds of stuff, right? And now that he says, well, I'm retiring, I'm going to have some time, I want to get into this coyote thing, they're almost lost. Like, where do you start, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a different style of hunting. We talked about land access is just different. The way you use the land and access the land and how you hunt the land and how often you're out there hunting the land makes a big difference. Coyotes versus going to the duck blind every morning or going to the deer stand every afternoon, right?
Yeah, coyotes are turned on on another level. They really are.
Yeah, you're actively going after those coyotes, and there's only so many coyotes there. I think, too, a huge misconception in the coyote world is that there's like this unlimited supply of coyotes. Are there a lot of coyotes? Yeah. Some places more than others.
Especially in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, but you only get one crop of coyotes a year, right? They're not rabbits. They're not breeding multiple litters and like hogs and things like that. So, there's certain times a year where the numbers of coyotes are the highest, and there's certain times of the season when they're lower or the lowest, if you want to call it that. So that all affects, right? I mean, just the number of potential candidates that want to respond to the call out there at sometimes of the year just less. So I think that plays a lot into it. And then the fact that just every coyote's different. coyotes aren't all cut from the same piece of cloth, right? I mean, they're like dogs.
Uh-huh.
They're a canine, so some coyotes are naturally more aggressive than others. You know, some were the run of the litter. You know, coyotes when they grow up and they're living in the den, they're vicious. They're fighting each other to be the top dog, and some get whipped, and some learn to stay away from that kind of stuff. And the other one's the top dog of the litter, and he comes in run to the coyote. You know, why do the pup distresses and the coyote fights work so great? A lot of those coyotes are just built like that. They're like, they don't care. And some coyotes are not built like that. They want to run the other way. So understanding that, and then just, using those probabilities and covering ground and saying, you know, I'm going to try to do something that can appeal to that variety of coyote that's out there. I don't know what type of coyote's out there. Is it the aggressive one that wants to come in and fight? Or is it the timid coyote that might not come no matter what I play, whether I have the secret sound? You know, you hear that a lot, right?
Yeah.
Oh, what's the secret sound you're playing? You know, so, okay, we know they're out there. So for me, it's probabilities and covering ground and trying to find those coyotes and being efficient, right? You know, I've had lots of, you know, I always say it's the 1% club is killing 10 coyotes in a daytime hunt, right? I rule out thermal because I call that kind of cheating to some extent because it's done, the style and things are a little bit different. But when you're specifically talking about daytime hunting, I talk about if you kill 10 coyotes in a daytime hunt, I put you in the 1% of all coyote hunters that have ever done that. You know, and
That's
picture yourselves, right? I mean, it
Yeah.
sounds, and so that's kind of the grail to me. But, you know, I've been able to, you know, 19 coyotes is the most I've ever killed in a day. We actually did it on film. If you ever watched that Last Stand episode, it's pretty wild. You know, we've had lots of 15, 16, 18 coyote days. But for me, you don't have that opportunity. Hey, there are a lot of things have to happen right on days like that, right? You have to be in the right spot. It's got to be loaded with coyotes. You have to be efficient with your shooting as a huge part of that. But you just have to make enough stands to kill that many coyotes, right? And so every minute counts. Like, do I sit there for 10 minutes or do I sit there for 20 minutes? Because if I sit there for 20 minutes all day long, you're just making less overall stands in that amount of time, even if it's just a half-day hunt, right? Even if you're the type of the guy that goes out. So you have to balance and juggle that and understand what can I accomplish in 10 minutes that some guys are taking 20 minutes to accomplish. If I can do it in 10 minutes, well, then I'm ahead of the curve.
Yeah,
and I can move to a next spot. I can get double the stands, the chance to get in front of that many more coyotes, you know? And to me, that's kind of where I've always based a lot of stuff that I do is off of those probabilities, percentages, and just kind of understanding some common sense stuff that I feel has gotten overlooked in the coyote world. You guys deal with writers and stuff like that a lot, right? With what you do, right? And, you know, I feel like over the years before the internet, knowledge was passed down through magazine articles, right? And some guy would read an article about shooting coyotes. Not necessarily that guy was an expert. He was just a writer that went on a coyote hunt. And some guy that he went with said, hey, this is how I do it. This is how I do it. Well, you might be the local expert and kill 20 coyotes a year just because nobody else kills 20 coyotes a year, right?
Right.
So they listen to you. And they go, and that guy goes and writes an article about what you talked about. Or you take somebody, right, for the first time ever coyote hunting. You've killed 20 coyotes in your whole life. But to that guy that's never coyote hunted, guess what? You're the expert. And so guess what? That guy starts learning coyote. Guess how he calls coyotes?
Just like
exactly how the guy that killed 20 coyotes a year, which is nothing great. And then pretty soon that guy starts killing 20 coyotes a year, and he takes somebody, and guess how that guy starts calling coyotes?
So the myth and the dogma just gets
it just gets handed down for no other reason than just that's how he did it. And I felt like over the years, just looking at this stuff, and whether it's good or bad, I felt like I never learned from anybody. I just kind of learned this on my own just by doing it a lot.
Sure.
You know, quick backstory, I've owned a lawn care business since I got out of the Marine Corps and started college, so I've had the winters off for 20 years. I've been fortunate enough to hunt coyotes a lot, right? I haven't had a real job. So hunting 50, 60, 70 days a winter, hunting coyotes for 20 years, you get to see a lot of stuff. And that's kind of where I thought, wow, you know, I like pulling the trigger. I like killing stuff. I mean, it's just the way I am. And I thought, you know what, if I have all day or 4 hours, I want to kill as many as I can. What can I do different than what the average guy has been taught to do? And lots of things. We were talking about volume of the call, how long you're sitting there, how fast you're covering ground, how you're covering ground, the shooting aspect, all that comes into play.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's just, it's about the pile, man. I mean, like, that is success to me.
Yep.
Like, anybody can go out, push the right button, and probably kill a coyote. But having a pile of coyotes to me is what makes
and a pile of coyotes are very different.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The .22 Advanced Rifle Cartridge. easily outperforms all other .22 caliber cartridges in its class, producing .22 250 performance in an AR-15 platform. The .22 ARC is engineered to take full advantage of the most aerodynamic .22 caliber bullets. This means tighter groups, increased accuracy, and an exceptional shooting experience. .22 Advanced Rifle Cartridge from Hornady.
So you're talking about efficiency. Let's probably start there with the land, the efficiency of the land, and I think it's infinitely variable because all the land is different depending on where you're at within the country. But you need to use it efficiently, so you need to be familiar with the lay of the land. And I'm guessing you go through when you get a new piece of property and pick out, with the wind of this direction, here's how I can access it, here's where I can park, where they can't see the vehicle, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, every piece of land's different, right? I mean, obviously out west where I'm at, big cattle ranches, western part of Nebraska, you get down to Colorado, even parts of eastern Wyoming, you can access most of the property off-roading. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is I'm just driving wherever I want, which makes it nice because there's not a lot of rocks, not a lot of sagebrush, not a lot of trees.
Almost no trees in western Nebraska.
The home Arbor Day, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, in those situations, I can do whatever I want. Like, that's where I need to get. Guess where I go? But then you start coming down to the, places like the Midwest where it's county roads every mile, even eastern Nebraska, Kansas, pretty much the whole Midwest, the rest of the country almost, right? You have small plots of land, 80 acres, 320. Maybe you have a whole section if you're lucky, 640 acres, but it's usually surrounded by a county road on each side. Ag mixed in there, but timber, creek bottoms, things like that. So your access is a little limited. You go out west, you even go down to the southwest, you get in that desert country, even out west in the big sagebrush country, Nevada, Montana, place like that. You get rock. You can't do that. You can't. You're limited to 2 tracks and stuff like that. So you have to approach everything different, but you have to kind of start by kind of understanding where you think the coyotes are going to be. And just understanding coyotes is a big part of that. Like, what's a coyote doing? That is one thing I feel like is similar to, like, say, deer hunting, right? What's a deer do in the morning? They're probably up feeding. What are they going to do in the middle part of the day? They're going to go find some place to lay up. Coyotes are very similar, but it might not be as specific as a deer. Okay. Like, guys can pattern deer, right? You're going from this food source to this bedding area, and they set their stand right in between, right? Coyotes are random. Coyotes are so random. Like, they may just lay. I mean, they could just lay in a little tuft of grass, or they may go over to a canyon, or they may go down into the creek bottom. Yeah, I mean, it's so random, but they are going to find a place to lay up. So you just have to understand, like, during the middle part of the day, are coyotes callable? Yeah. Am I going to have to get closer to where they're at? Probably. They're not going to want to come jumping up and running a mile. Where if early in the morning, late in the day, they are on the move, they're just naturally going to want to travel further, right? So that's one thing you're always considering. But yeah, understanding coyotes is where you start. Start reading books, try to figure out how coyotes move.
Watch The Last Stand.
Yeah, and every part of those different areas I talked about, wherever you live in the country, the coyotes use those a little bit different. But the common theme is cover, right? Whether it's thick sagebrush, whether it's a creek bottom, whether it's a CRP field, whether it's a frozen slough bottom, a thick timber patch, that's the cover. That's where the coyotes like to go and they gravitate to in the middle part of the day. And then they're going to use those transition areas, usually where the ag butts up to that kind of stuff, pasture country, but that's the stuff they're going to be trying to use early in the morning and late in the day when they're up on the moving, and you just kind of set up your stands around those type of area, and then you just start hammering away,
Step number one of you're really trying to take this serious, kill more coyotes, is understand where coyotes are going to live and what they're going to be doing throughout the day, and then address your land appropriately, the land you have access to. You can't just be running around out there. You have to have some well thought out locations based on where you think they're going to be at.
Yep. And the land access part in itself is huge. I think really most coyote hunters are undergunned with the amount of land access they have.
I would agree.
If you live out west, you're great, right? I mean, millions and millions of acres of BLM. Granted, there's private ranches mixed in. Seems like a lot of those guys don't want to knock on doors. When you have 1 million acres of BLM right over here, they just go hunt that, right? Obviously, that's something that can maybe, if you're thinking, these public land coyotes are getting hammered, they're getting hunted too hard, well, go knock on some doors, right? Yep. This is what we grew up doing out here, right? I mean, we're all private. What are we, 97% private here in Nebraska?
Well, and asking for permission from a cattle rancher to go shoot coyotes versus hunt mule deer, different things.
Yep.
Yes, and usually, especially in the business of cattle, Yeah. Oh, yeah. Nobody's allowed to hunt my place, but if you see a coyote, yes.
Yeah. You can never have enough access to hunt coyotes. I mean, that's what I tell. Your goal as a coyote hunter should be, I never have to go to the same stand twice in a season. That should be your goal. Like, you have that much access and that much flexibility because, a big place is fine because, if it's a north wind, I can go down to the south end of the property and kind of start working my way up through the wind, making stands, right? But if you're in the Midwest and you have a little 80 acre here, 80 acres here, you're maybe one access point into that little property, right? Yep. And if it's from the east and the wind's blowing from the east, blowing right back into there, well, you can't make that stand that day. So you need a lot of flexibility. And the more acreage you have to hunt, the more coyotes you're going to have access to. It's just that simple.
Yep. And that's a tough one because it can be, hunting's become such a profitable thing as of recent years. But yeah, it's tough. I get it. But if you want to kill more coyotes, how do you kill more coyotes? You have more access to the land. And
I hear this all the time. And just us as hunters in general, I think we'd like to use excuses for a lot of things. And I think a big excuse, I just can't get permission.
Yep.
Well, how much have you really tried, right? Did you go knock on one door and they told you no? Because even coyotes, people are going to tell you no. Yeah. They just don't want hunters in general. Or maybe they have at least, like you talked about. Yeah. Maybe they have somebody else already hunting. Maybe a family member hunts it already. But be persistent. Like, if you really spent the time and knock on doors and talk to people, even if you live in nothing but private land, there's millions of acres, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I tell people whatever state you're at, how many square miles of country are in your state?
A few.
Yeah, whatever, million square miles of country, right? So that's a million potential stands. Granted, there's some of that city, but like if you really wanted to put in the work, you're going to find it because the average hunter is not doing that.
Yeah.
They're going to make the excuse. They're going to be like, I got one spot. Yeah. Uncle Bill's spot I can go to. And guess where they go every weekend?
Yeah.
And they wonder why, they might have called in a coyote the first time they went out there, shot a coyote, and then they go back there the next weekend and they're like, I don't know. What do you think is going to happen? Yep. You shot the coyote out of there, or the one that's there, you've been in there frequently pressuring it.
Yep.
It knows what's going on now, right? And it's not like there's a million coyotes waiting to move in right when you kill one out. In some places, it's like that. There maybe are coyotes on the outskirts, but you got to have an abundance of coyotes on the outskirts of a property to move right in just because you killed one out. Yep.
I've been thinking as we've been talking about the spot that I've hunted deer in since I was 15 years old. It's a couple thousand acres in southeastern, south central Nebraska, kind of an extension of the Flint Hills of Kansas. Couple thousand acres back then, to me, was humongous big, right?
Yeah.
As I've worked here and my hunting capabilities have gotten better, I realized that there's maybe 6 spots you could sit to kill a deer on this place without me interfering with somebody else. If I can shoot 500-600 yards, that really shrinks the place down. For coyotes, I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong though, with that couple thousand acres and it's one main chunk, it's one off to the side and then 2 kind of across the road, I feel like I could call maybe a few more coyote stands out of that because I would be calling off of the neighbors.
That's the great thing about calling coyotes is, you might have a 4-acre spot.
Mm-hmm.
I just need a place to sit down and a place to kill them once they cross the fence.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's all you need.
Yep.
The coyotes, the call radius, the sound is traveling out onto all this stuff. So a lot of times you just need. So a lot of guys do like, I don't have a 10,000 acre cattle ranch. Well, you don't necessarily need that, right?
Right.
There's land everywhere, right? All I need is if I had an 80.
Right beside that 10,000 acres.
Yeah, there you go. Guess what? That sound's going 4, 5, 6, 8, a mile into that other property, and if it's the right coyote, they may come that far, right?
Yeah.
So utilizing that and saying, okay, maybe I can tweak this a little bit more, and I get hit up a lot like, how many acres do I need to make a stand? There's no clear-cut answer, man. I can make a stand out of 4 acres, and make a great stand, or I might have a 5,000 acre pasture that's flat as a pancake.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And there's no place to hide a truck or only a very limited spots. And if I'm not willing to get on an e-bike or hike way back in there on foot, well, then you're limited on the number of stands you make. So everything's a little bit different. There's no clear-cut answer on exactly how much acreage you need. But getting creative like that and using those corners and those fence lines, knowing that the coyotes can come from anywhere, huge advantage.
Yeah. So the summary there, if go the next step and don't just say, oh, I can't get access, because the majority of people are probably going to tell you no. But I think an important point, even within that, be persistent, like you mentioned, Geoff. Find the access. Look on X Hunt Maps.
Yep.
You can identify, oh, this looks really good. Here's the landowner. Go introduce yourself. There have been instances where, yeah, they might have 10,000 acres, but maybe you don't get access to all 10,000, but you get access to, a 640-acre pasture or something like that. Every little bit helps when you're really trying to maximize what you're doing. So land is a big one. Moving over to the call portion of it, this one I think is really important because I bet if you open Instagram right now, you have 100 DMs about what sounds. So
every post
DMs.
I ever make, that's the one. I'll get at least one comment. What sounds were they coming to?
Yeah. So I do want to spend some time on that though, because there's a lot of people that it's easy to go to the store and buy the Lucky Duck call. Okay, well I did that.
Yep.
Now what? So there's been some dogma and myth that I think has been dispelled by you and many, many others that I got to start the sound really quiet and I got to slowly build up the volume and I won't go to max volume, and then when I turn it off, I'm going to slowly lower the volume and go into the next call. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on volume, sounds, and maybe obviously throughout the year those sound sequences likely change, and that probably all goes back to number one, which is understand what coyotes do and what they're doing. So let's talk about that e-call.
So yeah, I mean, like we talked about earlier, how's coyote knowledge passed down, right? One things I do, whether it's my coyote schools, my online coyote school, trying to talk about stuff on the last stand, is try to get guys to think a little bit differently on how this stuff really works, right? And one of those is let's just talk about the sound first, right? You talked about Facebook. If I made a post today and said, hey, 100 dudes that were hunting coyotes this past weekend, wherever you're at, I don't care. In the comments, type what sound you killed most of your coyotes to. Do you think there'd be any rhyme or reason to the 100 different sounds that you'd see come up there?
Probably not.
Probably not, right?
I was going to say, I think there would be, because there's just some natural tendency to rabbit in distress.
But if you go even further, right?
Yeah.
So they're on a Lucky Duck call, for example, there might be 10 different cottontail distresses and 10 different, and they each have weird names, right? Like the one I use a lot is called TNT cottontail. It's just, I don't know. Rick was a big AC/DC fan, so he named it TNT. If you're on a Fox Pro, I think, I don't know, what's the
Eastern Cottontail.
Eastern Cottontail or something, right?
Yeah.
And that's the one the guys get to using. So what I'm saying is, guys want to know that specific sound, right? But there may be some guy might list, you might see 5 different cottontail sounds, or then a couple of different jackrabbits, and then 8 different pup distresses, and you'd see a whole variety of different sounds.
You probably have 100 different.
What's that tell you?
answers.
That the exact sound you're playing is probably not that important. But the guys get so wrapped up into it that they got to have that exact sound. Yeah. To me, it's more of I try to categorize the sounds, right?
Okay.
Like prey distress sounds, I kind of throw those all into one category.
Sure. Food.
Whether it's cottontail, jackrabbit, bird, to me, I don't really care. I don't know if the coyote really cares in most cases, right?
Yeah.
Like
it's food.
It's that
wounded.
type of sound
Yep.
that's making that. And then I put all the coyote howls. Some guys will call them coyote vocals. I just call them coyote howls. Anything where a coyote says, single, pair, serenade, put those all into a category. And then the third category is all your pup distresses and your coyote fights. To me, even those, granted, there's an aggression scale mixed in there. We can go deep into this too, but you got little 2-week-old coyote pups squeaking. That's a pup distress.
Yep.
Versus a knockdown you picture 2 coyotes tearing each other up, that's pretty aggressive, right? So you have an aggression scale in there too, but realistically, they're all really within the same category. So that's what I base it on is, okay, I'm going to start in this category and I'm going to finish in this category, and I'm really covering all my bases because, like we talked about, we're hoping there's a coyote out there, but we don't know what kind of coyote this is. Is it this mean-ass coyote that wants to come in and whip everybody's ass, or is it this little timid one that we're going to have to coax a little bit, So, kind of roll through, maybe start with the prey distress, if you want. Start with a rabbit or a bird.
That seems like the least invasive, right? Like, animals are in distress. It's not You wouldn't think that would scare something off.
Hornady V-Match ammunition, loaded exclusively with Hornady ELD VT bullets. The low-drag design of the ELD VT bullets provide high velocity retention and minimal wind deflection. Initial offerings include 22 ARC, 6 ARC, 6mm Creedmoor, 6.5 Grendel, and 6.5 Creedmoor. Elevate your varmint shooting experience, shatter records, and make your mark like never before with V-Match ammunition from Hornady.
You know, Rick Plett, you know, you've seen him on The Last Stand with me, you know, he's collected all the sounds on a licky duck call, you know, and, you know, he's been around lots of coyotes over the last decade, and he tells me this, you know, coyote pups right from the get-go fight all the time. They know what a pup distress is. They know what it sounds like when a coyote's getting its little coyote pup's getting whipped and it's squealing, right? How long does it take them until they actually know what a dying rabbit sounds like?
Might be a while.
Not until they catch one themselves, right? Because the mom's not bringing live rabbits back to the den. The rabbit's already dead, right?
Right.
So until they actually catch a rabbit themselves and it starts squealing for a couple seconds before they actually kill it, they do not know what that sound is. So that's why sounds like the pup distresses and the coyote fights, I feel, are way more effective because they are in tune to that sound from the day they were born.
Right.
The squeaks and then, like I said, when you get a den of coyote pups, they're cutthroat.
Yeah.
They're trying to they're fighting all the time, trying to kill each other. I mean, they're trying to do whatever they can. They're animals, man. You know, so that's why those pup distress and coyote fights, I think, work a lot more. But yet you get guys that, oh, you need to play the rabbit distress, right? Rabbit. And that goes back to the old days with hand calls, right?
Oh.
How is knowledge passed down? Who started coyote calling? It was the guys with hand calls because there wasn't any electronics, right? So those old school dudes, you know, killing lots of coyotes, they get the e-calls and they're like, no, I've been killing coyotes for years with just the rabbit squalor. Well, they don't know any better.
Right.
They don't know. I mean, you could do some eyes and kind of some weird, you know, if you're really good at hand calling, but that was it. So they're like, no. Now, the same thing is how you run the e-call with the volume, right?
Yeah.
Same thing. Guy's been blowing his hand call his whole life. I mean, you can only blow a hand call as loud as you can blow to it, right?
How good are your lungs?
Yeah. And then, you know, with a hand call, they do interval calling. Well, I call it, right? Why?
Right. They need a break.
You need a break, right?
Yeah.
Is that because it's the best way to call coyotes? No, it's because that's the way you had.
I gotta have time to
Right, 'cause I didn't
down
wanna-
a Marlboro
You
Red.
cannot blow a hand call constantly. Maybe you've had a buddy and you two are alternating and kept it going, right? But nobody ever did that. So when that same guy bought his first e-call, how did he play his e-call?
That's how he did it.
He interval called it, right?
Yeah.
So then he tells his next buddy, hey, you don't want to play that e-call straight through. You got an interval call. Why? No other reason.
What I've
That's how he did
always
it,
done.
right?
You got time to suck down a Marlboro Red.
For sure, right? So that's what I'm talking about. So pretty soon you get this train of thought out there like, oh, I can't play this call for 15 minutes straight. That doesn't sound... Really?
It'll play for 15 minutes. Just let it play.
Let it
Play
play,
indefinitely.
man.
Yeah.
Let it play, you know? And over the years, you start to see things. And the thing about coyote hunting is it's a lot of theoretical stuff, right? Like, we'll never... Like, when a coyote comes running in, you've been playing rabbit for 3 minutes, and a coyote comes running in at 3 minutes and you shoot it, right? I've always wished there was a way, like, let's reset that scenario, right? And play a different sound. Would that same coyote come in, or didn't matter? Or was it that like that prey distress sound? Or did I just happen to set up perfect like that? And we'll debate about that forever because you can never set up a scenario right. That to replicate it, right? So the same thing's true once you get going with you know how long you're sitting there and how much volume you're playing, and you start to see little things here and there, and it's a small sample size. Like over the years, for example, volume of the call, right? I always look back to the origin of this information that people are getting. Why do people say you got to start it out quiet?
Don't want to scare them off.
You don't want to spook them off, right? So in order to spook a coyote off, it's got to be fairly close, okay? Well, over the years, probably, I don't know, 50 times or way more probably, how many times have I fired up the e-call, max volume, and there's been a coyote on the call, or I've shot a coyote at the call within 30 seconds to a minute? That's happened to me a lot.
Yeah.
So if it only took the coyote 30 or 45 seconds to get to the call, how far was that coyote?
Not
didn't
very
scare
far.
it off.
He was right there. I did not scare that coyote off. Could it happen? It very well could. You could potentially spook a coyote off because you played the call too loud. But this is what I think happens. Somebody had to have seen something to make them think that, right? You sit down, you fire up the call, you look out across the canyon, and you see a coyote running up there 300 yards running over the hill.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he probably saw you walk in.
That's exactly
or
right.
the
right?
wind's blowing at your back.
But the first thing is the guy I think is like, damn, if I wouldn't have played it so loud, I spooked him. He probably laid there the whole time, watched you set up, was comfortable with the distance, but it wasn't until you added this sound that he was like, nah, that's a little bit too much for me, and he's gone, right?
Yep.
That's the way I look at it. So this kind of all comes down into this efficiency thing, right? Like, that's fine if you want to start the call off quiet. But in my opinion, you're wasting minutes. If I play the call quiet for 3 minutes and then I finally ramp it up, I'm not really getting volume out to where the coyotes could be till 5 or 6 minutes into the stand.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I wasted 5 minutes right there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you really feel that way, run the call quiet for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because they're right there. They're coming already, right? But after 30 seconds, baby, boom. Now I want to penetrate the entire stand with as much volume as I can, because that's giving the coyotes that hear it the farthest the most time to come, right?
Right.
A lot of guys do it the opposite. You know, they'll quiet right at the very end of the stand. They'll finally get it loud, and then they'll shut the call off and they'll leave. Well, you finally just put sound out there far enough that maybe not all coyotes are coming from that far, but you could.
Yeah.
Coyote at 1,000 yards may have heard it.
Turn around.
We turn it. Here he comes. And it may take him 2 or 3 minutes to get there, but you only let it play for 2 minutes. Out, let's go. You know, and we stand off. And so it's just things like that I feel like just be efficient in what you're doing and understand like really what's happening out there when these coyotes either they like the sound or not. You know,
right? And you're not going to come to the call if they can't hear the call. That's what
I say is the one constant in coyote hunting. If they can't hear it, they're not coming. Nothing else is 100% in coyote hunting. Like everything. Right. They don't always circle downwind. I've seen coyotes circle upwind a handful of times, right? Just weird stuff like that. But if they can't hear it, I guarantee you they ain't coming, right? You know, so I always err on the side of too much volume. And so what? I guess if a coyote here and there gets scared, but I look at all the times that we've been able to kill coyotes. Another thing with volume is, and when we're talking on sounds that a lot of guys don't understand, that I talk a lot about, classes and stuff like that, is how long to play a sound for.
That's going to be my next question.
That's the crazy thing, right? Like you get this, you fire up a remote and you're like, oh my God, there's 19 folders and there's 200 sounds on these calls. And it's like, what do I do? How long do I play a sound for? Once again, we talk about math, right? I talk about this. A coyote's on a 10-mile-an-hour trot, which is a slow for a coyote. I mean, that's just faster than walk. How long does it take that coyote to travel a mile?
60 seconds.
6 minutes.
6 minutes.
You failed math.
Seconds, yeah. That's close.
You know, you're close. You're close. 6 minutes, right? Most coyotes aren't coming from a mile. They're coming from a half mile or closer, right?
So there's your 3 minutes.
3 minutes. So if I played a sound that coyote liked within 3 minutes, I should have seen him, shot him, know he's coming one way or the other, right?
Right.
So any time over that 3 minutes, guess what we're talking about? Wasted minutes again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? And that all adds up at the end of the day. And that's just my mentality is like, how efficient can we be? Because why make 14 stands if I can be efficient enough to make 16? Because those 2 extra stands I get in the end of that day, I might kill a double, or triple,
maybe a pair will come in.
You know, and that's just not somebody can say, "Oh, that's a contest mentality," or something. I don't.
It is a contest.
It is
against me.
Yeah, I don't care if it's a contest or not. I want to kill coyotes, man. So I don't ever let the same sound play for more than 3 minutes. A lot of times it's even less than that.
Okay.
Because over the years, you know, and guys will say like, same thing, the kind of mentality that doesn't make sense. You're playing all these crazy sounds, all, you know. Some guys will say, I want to paint a picture. Have you guys ever heard that?
No.
I'm trying to paint a picture for the coyote. Like they'll start with a coyote howl, and then they'll roll into some rabbit distress, picturing that this coyote howled, then he caught a rabbit, then I'm going to play some pup distress. Now they're fighting over the, you know, I'm like, that's way overthinking it, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's how we were all taught, though. I was going to say that because, like, literally, this is what you do from the videos that I watched growing up. You howl for 3 to 5 minutes. You do rabbit distress for 10. You do pup distress for 5 minutes, and then you're at 20 minutes, and you can leave. That's how I was taught.
Well,
and it works. I mean, here's the bottom line is, can you kill coyotes doing that? Damn straight you can.
Yeah.
But can you kill the most coyotes you potentially can doing it that way? No.
Okay.
That's
well, and that makes a lot of sense. If the coyote was human, painting that scene makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I heard a howl. Oh, I think he caught a rabbit. Oh, rabbit's in distress right now. Yep, he caught a rabbit. Oh, there's pups fighting. Well, I better go see what's going on.
Yeah, you know, like when you think of it as in your human brain, it kind of like makes, oh yeah, that seems cool, you know. But you know, once again, you kind of go back to a few instances over the years where you see things happen, and a lot of times if you have multiple coyotes come into a stand, right? You shoot the first one, you don't always get a good shot at the second one, especially like when we were hunting in Kansas, right? Coyotes kind of come out onto the field edges, and you shoot. If you can get them shot, great, but sometimes they get back into the brush and the trees before you can get a shot, right? But you can watch their body language, and you kind of like, that coyote was kind of bouncing around like he knew something wasn't right, but he didn't know. The first thing I do is start rolling through different pup distresses for like 20 to 30 seconds a pop. Not very long.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that many times, that second coyote has looped back in, popped back out, came running right back to the call, even after he knew that he should be getting out of here. Like something tells him that there's just danger, right? I don't know what. But that works. That coyote that knows something wasn't right comes running back in. So frequency of changing sounds to me is huge because we don't know exactly what sound is going to trigger that coyote. Every coyote's different.
Right.
So if I can throw 5 or 6 or 7 different sounds out in 12 minutes, I can accomplish a lot.
Yeah.
Max the volume out, play 6 or 7 different sounds. If the right coyote was there, the right coyote's coming.
Yep.
If not, guess what?
On to the next
Move
one.
on to the next one. Yeah.
On to the next one, you know? And there's days where we'll make 1 out of 10 it'll happen. And we'll kill 2 or 3 coyotes. And I tell myself on days like that, like, we could have quit at lunch, you know, and we'd had 1 coyote, but we stuck with it. But on the days where everything lines up right, and you're in the right spot, the coyotes are working, there's a lot of coyotes, that's how you kill 15 to 20 coyotes in a day, is by keeping with that system the entire time.
So I would ask, how long on your maximum are you giving a stand before you're on to the next one?
Most of them are probably in that 10 to 12 minute mark.
Okay.
But if I, you know, if I sit down and for some reason, sometimes coyotes will just howl randomly, almost like shot gobbling turkeys.
Yeah.
Like if I'm on a stand and I hear coyotes howling, well, they can obviously hear the sound, right? And I think we need to back up on volume too, because this is another reason why guys are afraid to play volume is they feel like they don't want they're going to go over that hill a mile and make the next stand.
Right.
They don't want those coyotes to hear the sound on this stand. Once again, you know, and it makes sense in our brains.
Yeah,
like 15 minutes ago we heard that. Why would we go running over there now, right? But over the years, I'd take back just this small sample size, 100 times, but it's a small sample size, really. But I'll sit there and I'll see a coyote out there at 500, 600, 700 yards, hunting this big open country. You can see stuff like that. And coyote, he might have been laying there in his bed, and he sits up, and I play everything at him, you know, 6, 8 sounds, 10 sounds, and he just lays back down. That coyote's not educated. He's not smart. He's just lazy. He's just like, I don't want to come that far, right? Most of the time, if the access and the train dictates, I'll kill the call, wait till he disappears. If he trots off or lays back down, guess what I'll do?
Go around.
I'll pick up the call, and I'll cut the distance in half, maybe closer. I'll get within 200 or 300 yards where I think that coyote's at, reset up, go straight to like just the simplest lip squeaks or something like that. Every time that I've done that, guess what?
Here they come.
Okay.
The coyote comes running right in. It's just like he was lazy. Like, I don't want to go 800, but I don't mind running 200 yards to check this out. When 5 minutes ago, he just heard every sound on my damn e-call because I was trying to get him to come from 800, right?
Right.
So you see that a lot, and you start to realize that those coyotes don't care. I think they have a weird brain, like a short term. So if the coyote's willing to howl at me, guess what? Now I know where to go.
Yeah.
So just because they hear it doesn't mean they're going to come, but it doesn't mean that the stand's blown, that coyote's messed up. And I think that's the argument a lot of guys will make is, I don't want every damn coyote in the whole county to know that I'm here calling by blaring the call. Well, okay.
I want every coyote.
You can do what you want, man. I'm not telling you how to do it. I'm just saying if your goal is like mine, to kill as many possible coyotes as you can in the short amount of time you have, or whatever amount of time you have, probably what you need to do. But, you know.
Yep. That's a really unique takeaway, and I'm going to put that in play. Last year we were shooting what became the 69 grain ELD VT in 22 Creedmoor.
Creed, yeah.
So it was an R&D product, and I didn't have a Doppler verified like 4DOF profile for it. I was running on a BC that we shot here at 300 with the radar, and in Wyoming, coyote showed itself but would not commit to us, and it hung up in the sage at like 400 and change, but we just couldn't get a shot because it was moving us through the sage. Well, it walked up on this hill and sat down on a rock. 732 yards away. And we gave that stand 20 minutes. And in hindsight, I wonder if that wouldn't have worked for us to cut the distance to that coyote, because it's the choppy area north of Casper, Wyoming. We could have definitely gone out of sight and made a move. What I did do was toss a bullet out to him.
Yeah,
though. And,
that's what most guys end up doing.
0.2 of a mil was all it was. His hands, his front paws were on a rock, and that rock blew up.
No kidding.
Yeah, Kelly said, you didn't hit him, but he's bleeding. So I wonder if we couldn't if I had Ford off, I bet I could have connected.
Somebody else was shooting, maybe.
Well, maybe. I nailed the wind call, which was way harder than bullet drop.
That's usually the one that gets you is the wind.
But I wonder if we couldn't have cut the distance, and because he was interested, just not that interested.
Well, that's just generally what I try to use on setups in general, right? I mean, a situation like that tells you that the closer you can get to the coyotes before you set up to call them, your odds go up that they're coming to the call, right? So when we go back to the land access side of it, right? And you have to understand your property you're hunting, where the coyote's going to be. You know, how can I get in close to where I think they're going to be? Because the closest you are to them, the faster they're going to respond. You know, you're going to kill them that much quicker, and they're going to respond better. Just coyotes sometimes just are lazy. And if you give them a visual, like in that, why'd that coyote go up onto that hill right there? He had the best visual, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of times, too, I talk about this in the class stuff, is like I will purposely limit visibility on a stand. Sounds crazy, right? Like you'd never read that in an article, right? What do they tell you to do? Oh, you need to get up on that hill where you can see forever, right? If I can see forever, guess what? So can the coyote. Mm-hmm. So if I get the wrong coyote, he'll come to a spot. Why? Coyotes always come to a little rise. They come in an opening in the tree. Why do they come out on the edge of the trees and right at the edge of the field and hang up and check up? Because that's the first place they can see. Mm-hmm. Why do they come up on the little hill and look at you at 400 yards?
Yep.
Because they can see. And if you purposely sat up too high on the hill, they can sit anywhere and see you up there.
Right.
And I think sometimes they're just like, I don't know. But if you purposely limit visibility, I think coyotes have a weird, instinct in them that they have to they want to come and curiosity probably kills just as many coyotes as anything. Like if you can purposely set up a stand to limit their visibility, make the coyote have to come, like in the sandhill country, Nebraska, a lot of times. You've been up there coyote hunting a lot, right? It's just real choppy. Everybody wants to come off the big hill, call across the big meadows, get up high where they can see. Well, so can the coyotes. Can you kill coyotes like that? For sure you can. But sometimes we'll set up looking into a sandhill 100 yards away.
Sure.
And everybody's like freaking out, like, oh my God, this is so tight. Well, that's 100 yards. Come on, guys. But guess what? When the coyote can see the call, he's within 100 yards.
He's ready to go.
He's dying.
Yep.
Yeah.
He ain't sitting out. You don't have to make a 700-yard shot to kill a coyote.
Right.
You're making a 100-yard shot.
Yep. I'm way better at that.
Yeah. Most guys are. Yeah. Right? So, that's just a weird little thing, too, to kind of just start, hopefully the wheels get to turn a little bit and you start just kind of break free of the traditional mold of what everybody's tried to tell you how to hunt coyotes.
Yep.
There's no better time to stock your reloading bench and light up your range with Hornady Get Loaded Plus. New this year, free bullets or free cases when you buy these select Hornady reloading tools. Plus, receive the free HIT Target Impact Indicator. Hornady Get Loaded Plus. Free bullets, free cases, free HIT Target Impact Indicator. Get loaded and light it up with Hornady Get Loaded Plus. Limitations apply. Visit Hornady.com/getloaded2025 for further details.
A lot of takeaways there, but
I got a fanboy question.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you and Rick are hunting together, are you always running the call, or does Rick run it some too? And do you argue about it?
So it's funny because Rick's old school. Like he has never put the type of the thought process that I have. He's just always, he was a hand caller, and so early on, him and I ran the call way different. And when you run it as much as I do, it's very hard to sit on a stand when somebody else is running the remote. It is. It's hard. It's like the hardest thing I do is sitting having like, come on, let's go. And they're twiddling my thumbs like this is a waste. Like I can see for 500 yards, and where if a coyote's coming, you know where they're going to be from. And I'm like, hey, you're not playing it loud. It's that kind of stuff. But over the years, Rick has gravitated the way he runs the call now is very similar to mine.
Okay.
So now it's like, and it's nice now that that's the case because it is fun just to get behind the gun sometimes and it's a lot to manipulate, right? That's one of the big challenges is you're trying to manipulate the remote. You're trying to figure out where the coyotes are coming in. You're trying to do it all, right? But it's nice just to sit there sometimes and just
Yeah.
But the thing with Rick too, he likes to listen to his sounds.
Mm-hmm.
He's in the business of selling sounds and selling e-calls, which is awesome. I tell him, I said, you make more money selling e-calls than you do sounds, so I'm going to sell e-calls for you.
Right.
You can sell your sounds, right? So he wants to hear he records hundreds of sounds every year, and he's got a sound library of freaking awesome stuff, right? But how many sounds can you really have? To me, it almost binds up your remote. Like, they market that these e-calls will hold 2,000 sounds. I'm like, can you imagine having...
I don't think I need 2,000.
But, it would take you... Your eyes would be on your remote most of the stand instead of looking for coyotes, right? So I shrink mine down. I have, the sounds I use the most in one folder, 10 sounds, right? So it's all right there. I can get to them quick,
Yep.
But Rick likes to listen to his sounds. He likes to try to call coyotes in with his new sounds, which they're all category-based anyway, I believe.
Right.
So they're all going to work at the right time. But he likes to... You know how it is. You want to see your product in action out there. So I give him some flack about that. Just play the original stuff so we can kill coyotes. Get rid of that. You know what I'm saying?
It's efficiency.
So yeah. We get after each other a little bit there, but no, he does run it. Like this last trip, he ran it. We were just down in Kansas. He ran it the first day because cats. We're trying to kill cats down there, right? And once again, we could talk about bobcats. I have a whole different outlook on way to call cats. Same kind of thing, right? And so the first day, we're trying to get some cat footage because we know the coyotes are going to happen. But cats are cool. Everybody likes to see a bobcat come in, And first day, he's running the call and nothing. So I take over the call the second day, and then he finally you can just run it again the third day. And then we killed a couple cats the third day, running the call. So I said, see, you could, you did.
Just let me do it from the
Yeah,
get-go.
So
that e-call could be, I can imagine, tough to manage, especially for the new guy. Or you're just getting into it. It can be probably overwhelming, And that's, I think, some of your tips here on how to kill more coyotes. Sounds like categorize your sounds, and it almost doesn't matter within that category.
Don't get too wrapped up.
Yeah, don't get too wrapped around that. They can't come if they can't hear it, so keep the volume up, and you're limiting your stands 10, 12, 13 minutes, and you're running that call basically the entire time.
Yeah, yep. I want the sound going the entire time, and like I said, that variety of sounds within that. What can I do
2
within
to 3
that?
minutes per sound.
And if the right coyote's there, it's going to show up.
I like it.
Well, and you talked about limiting your vision or their vision, and they're just curious. I have to imagine a lot of times the sounds that they hear just make them curious. So mixing it up big time, rather than owls, distress, fights, stuff like that, probably makes a big difference.
Sometimes I'll even, if I start off with 3 minutes of rabbit and then start running through 1.5 minutes or 2 minute pup distress, coyote fight, I'll even go back to rabbit sometime at the end, because sometimes you never know, especially early in the season, if you look at the overall density of coyotes right now, a majority of the coyotes right now are these young pup coyotes, right? Yep. They're the ones that are going to die off the most throughout the season, but right now that's what's making up a bulk of the coyotes, right? So, so just this year alone, I've already seen just the littlest, dinkiest female coyote pup come bombing into the coyote fight. And you're like, what in the hell? And then, then the next coyote pup's out there, cautious, coming in. It's like, so they don't every coyote's a little bit different. So I always picture that maybe throughout that series of all these pup distresses and coyote fights, a coyote came close, but I haven't seen it yet for whatever reason, So finish with a little squeaky rabbit or something like that. Maybe that coyote that wasn't really wanting to come into the fighting or the pup distress. Well, wow. Oh, there's a little squeaky rabbit too.
I'm
okay.
hungry,
Diddy bops over the hill and you whack it right at the end of the stand,
I like it.
I think you're beating around the bush. I think you need to give people the sound recipe right now.
Yeah, it's secret.
Finally give it out.
He's got his secret sounds.
Hey, we do. They sell full stand. I think they're called full length hunts on the Lucky Duck. You've probably seen them on the folder, right?
Yeah.
And that's really, Rick gets with me and says, hey, give me a sound sequence. Okay. And he'll take it on his editing thing, but 2 minutes of this, 2 minutes, 3 minutes of that. And it blows my mind because I want to be in control of that sucker.
Right.
Yeah.
But guys love them because all you have to do is
I love them.
hit play, and now I can look for coyotes.
Look.
Yep.
I can look for coyotes, and it's just going to naturally do it on its own, and I can look for coyotes. I'm not scrolling through folder after folder and sounds. I'm trying to figure, what's that even mean? Well, a lot of guys look at the names of them, and they're like, kryptonite. Some weird sound like that, and they're like, what's that even mean,
Uh-huh. Yeah. Let's talk about the actual killing of the coyote. You want to kill more coyotes, you got to kill them, and there's a shameless plug here for cartridge, bullet selection, and largely just making a conscious purchase with your cartridge and bullet and firearm and optic, roll that all into one. That you're going to kill more coyotes if you buy good stuff comparatively. If you took 100 people out there shooting coyotes and then you ran the gamut of budget scope, budget rifle, budget ammo, maybe zeroed at a pie plate a couple of years ago kind of stuff, all the way up to, an ultra precision rig like your GA Precision Coyotes Fear Me Edition to something like that. You're going to hit more of what you're aiming at if what you are shooting is accurate and shoots well and you have a good optic on there.
Yeah, I kind of compare it to maybe I do a little bit of golfing, right? So, like, I could break the old, 20-year-old set of golf clubs out and go golf every now and then, be all right, right? But as you get better, equipment becomes, more important, right? Like, to really, you can only get so good, and then at a certain point, the equipment really starts coming in, So, yeah, can you take your old deer hunting 270 out there and shoot a coyote with it? Sure you can.
Of course.
Well,
and I feel like a lot of the coyote hunters of when I was a kid in the area I grew up, oh, yeah, I got the 22-250, and I buy the cheapest box of 20 rounds that I can, and I have the Simmons 3-9 scope that came on it when I bought it. Good enough.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, killing efficiency is huge for me. I mean, we talk about all this stuff we've talked about so far. None of it really matters if you can't kill the coyote.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, granted, you're still going to laugh about it, but ultimately everybody's usually pissed off when,
of course,
they call in a coyote and some guy whiffed it because they weren't ready, or you hit it wrong. I mean, that's a thing too. I've always been super curious about terminal ballistics when it comes to hitting coyotes and what bullets are doing. I've had guys show up with FMJs and soft points and these big deer and elk guns trying to shoot a little coyote with these bullets that are made for, chest cavities 20 inches wide instead of 6, and they just, obviously the terminal, that all matters, right?
Yep.
And then we talked about it earlier that, guns get bad names.
Yeah.
And I think the 223 especially, I don't think in the coyote world, the 223 has probably been bashed the most.
Yep.
And I think the biggest reason is because they go buy just the cheapest AR they can.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, they go to the store, and what's the cheapest box of ammo? It's just a coyote, who cares, right? And they buy the cheapest crap they can. It might even be a full metal jacket, who knows, or soft point or something like that. And yeah, if you hit the coyote perfect in the 6-inch or 8-inch circle in their shoulder or their ribs, it'll kill it.
Right.
But if you haven't shot a lot of coyotes, and all of a sudden, and most guys aren't prepared, they're probably shooting off their knee or some craziness like that instead of having a good bipod or a tripod or something like that. And then the coyote comes running in and boom, they hit it. Anywhere you hit a coyote, you can hit a coyote in the foot and it'll spin around and yelp and for a little bit and then it'll take off running. They'll be like, oh man, I know I hit it good. No, you hit it in the foot.
No, it was just a runner.
Yeah, and then they'll be like, damn, the damn gun, it's bullets. This bullet sucks,
Does it really? Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I think, you want to give yourself room for error. Even myself that shoots a lot of coyotes, every now and then I'll hit one mid-body.
Yep.
Runners, a lot of runners. When you're shooting at a runner, you're just hoping to put a bullet in them, right? To slow them down and get a good one in them, right? So I've seen a lot of coyotes get hit through the hips, through the guts. With what I do with coyote schools and the guided hunts, I've been around, I mean, you name it. I've seen a coyote get shot with it. And, big isn't always better with coyotes. I think that's a misconception that, I'm going to be burying the biggest gun. Well, what you find is if, you want to, coyotes bleed out fast. There's been some research done. I think the USDA's even done some research with shotgun loads and things like that for aerial gunning.
Oh, sure.
And what they were testing lead pellet shot versus steel shot. And what they were finding was coyotes would die faster getting shot with steel from the helicopter or the airplane because the steel pellet would punch a hole right through their bone and keep on going.
Right.
And they'd bleed out fast. The lead pellet would hit the bone, mash, and break it, but that wouldn't bleed out. So coyotes bleed out super fast. So if you're shooting a bullet that's creating a massive wound channel in there, what I tell people is you do not want an exit.
No, you want that bullet to come off like a hand grenade.
If there is no exit, that means 100% of that bullet, of that energy stayed inside of that coyote, and that wound channel is massive. And that coyote ain't going nowhere.
Right.
If you're blowing through, like back in the day, guys would shoot a 22-250 or a 223, and then they go to a contest. oh, I'm breaking out the whatever for the contest. And I'm like, what do you normally hunt coyotes with? Well, that one. I'm like, why aren't you shooting that? Well, I need something bigger so the coyotes don't run off. Well, you gut shoot a coyote with 130 grain whatever.
270,
it goes right through them.
Yep.
It doesn't have time to do anything. It's like almost shooting with a full metal jacket, right? And coyote runs off, and coyotes can go forever. Like I made the mistake long ago of trying to track wounded coyotes.
Yeah.
if you don't find a wounded coyote within 100 yards, you're wasting your time.
Yep.
They're like a deer. They don't go later. They just keep going. But if you hit them in the liver, the lungs, the heart, they're dead within 100 yards.
Yep. Especially with these very violent bullets.
Yeah.
Because the temporary wound cavity, they inflate. If you slowed it down in like a slow-mo camera,
It's
they
crazy.
inflate like a beach
They do.
ball. Yeah. So a good bullet, cartridge, speed. I'm a big fan of speed when it comes
Pick
to
what you want.
coyotes.
Just maybe make it purposeful.
Purposeful
For
for what?
coyotes.
Don't
Just
just
educate
pull the
yourself.
ammo off. And
Yeah.
I see guys just have 2-3 boxes of different crap in their bag, and that's going to shoot different.
Yep.
Like anybody I know that is a good coyote hunter that kills lots of coyotes has a specific coyote rig that they have, and it's a coyote-based caliber.
Yep.
I'm
I'm pretty partial to the old 22 Creedmoor.
if I shot a bolt gun,
recently-
that's exactly what I would shoot.
Yeah.
Would be a 22 Creedmoor. But
big fan of the 22 Arc in my bolt guns as well.
Yeah.
I know we finally converted you to the 22
yeah,
Arc.
yeah. No, I mean it's violent, man. So yeah, I think the biggest guys just don't shoot it.
Yeah, get comfortable
And
with
the biggest thing is that you guys do PRS a lot, right?
Used to.
Whatever you're doing, right? You're shooting from different positions, and you practice that, right?
Yep.
What do guys do? They go to the range, they throw the lead sled
Get off the
down,
bench.
they lay the bag down, bam, bam. Oh, this gun's perfect, and they go out coyote hunting. I'm like, well, sorry, you ain't bringing the bench with you to coyote hunting. You're shooting off some, who knows what they got? It's a freaking
2 sticks. tied
whatever.
together.
I mean, the old school shooting sticks. They might have a little monopod, whatever. And then coyotes come in. It happens fast, and you panic.
Yep.
It's just like training, right? It's like anything. You go back to your habits, and if you haven't created any habits, it's not going to turn out well for you.
Nope.
So
Yep.
Yeah, so cartridge, bullet, practice, rifle, all of that kind of comes together. Just educate yourself and do it right. Now, for our last
You
point,
wouldn't be wrong, shameless plug, if it had a Hornady VMAX or VMatch bullet in it.
yeah, I would agree. The VT
Yeah.
and the VMAX, those are devastating.
Yep.
Our last point, this is the one that was a little more counterintuitive. And Jeff, you've already talked about it a little bit when we were talking about land. Like you've got to do your due diligence in trying to acquire as much access as you possibly can. And then let's say you have that fixed value of land. It seems counterintuitive, but sometimes to kill more coyotes, you can't hunt them as often.
yeah, it's very true. I mean, if you talk to a rancher, they think they got 1,000 coyotes out there, and to a rancher, they want you out there all the time.
Right.
All right, that's what traps are for.
Yeah.
All right. Trappers are out there their traps out there 24/7,
Every day.
and it's great, right? But it's a different style. Like, yeah, if you're going out there consistently, educated coyotes is a weird thing, right? We talked about hunters' excuses, right? I don't have enough land. I think a lot of times if a coyote's out, like the coyote out there that you saw, your story you had 400 yards and went up the hill. If you played that scenario out to 10 different coyote hunters, what would be the number one reason most of them would tell you why that coyote didn't come in?
Probably educated.
He's an educated one. Somebody's already tried to call him, right?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
Or he's just
But
lazy.
he just could have been lazy. Just could have he not cared, right? So once again, you'll never know. But what I think we can all agree on is frequency. Let's say, I compare training dogs. Closest thing we have any comparison to, right? If you're going to train a dog to do something or learn a behavior, are we talking about less frequent or more frequent you want to work with that dog?
More frequent.
More frequent, right?
Yeah,
You can't just
constant.
you can't work on sitting once a week, and expect your dog to be good or retrieving or whatever it is, right? It's frequency. So I feel the same thing as with coyotes. If we really is a coyote really getting smart from one interaction? I don't believe so, right? Like where I was at in Kansas, right? There's a farmhouse every section, sometimes 2. Do you think if I'm on a stand and the coyote runs in and wins me and runs off, do you think that was the first time that coyote's ever smelled a human?
Might have been the first time he smelled you, but he smelled
But he
everybody else.
smelled,
around.
right? He
Yeah.
smelled stuff. So it was just danger to him. Like, I ain't sticking around. I'm just gone.
Right.
Is that coyote so smart now that he's never going to come back into a call? I don't know. We could argue about that forever, right?
Yeah.
You'll never know. But I always look at it frequency. What we do know is that the more frequently I'm out there pressure or messing with this coyote, and what a lot of people don't understand too is to a coyote, pressure is pressure, right? Just like our rifle deer season right now, right?
Yep.
I have ranches in the Sandhills that I'll hunt, and if I try to go Thanksgiving, which is like always the 4 or 5 days after our rifle deer season, if they've had guys out there driving all over the ranch for a week straight trying to shoot deer, who knows, maybe shooting at a coyote, by the time I go there 4 days later, those coyotes act different. Because they go months without seeing anybody out on those ranches, then all of a sudden for a week straight, there's trucks driving everywhere, and maybe they're getting shot. I don't know if the coyote really knows they're getting shot at, but then a week later, they're not coming to the call like they should. They're a little paranoid. I mean, that's just coyotes in nature, just a freaky little animal, right?
So the pressure.
So the frequency is, but
is.
we can control that, right? There's a lot of things in coyote hunting we can't control.
Yeah.
All right. I can control the volume, how long up, all the stuff we've talked about. And the other thing, how frequently I'm going out there. You know, and you don't always know too, like when you're getting permission or public land, you don't know who else has been out there. That's always it's a gamble. The gamble, right? You don't know. But you can, at least with private land, you can ask and say, hey, has anybody else been hunting out there? When were they hunting out there, and get some information? But frequency is the thing that we can control. So a lot of guys don't have enough access, so they purposefully are going out there more than they should be, which is increasing the frequency, which is, if you're doing a good job in killing off the coyotes, well, there's no more coyotes to call in.
Right.
Because you've killed off the ones that wanted to call, or as I call, callable coyotes. And if you happen to mess it up, and then you go out there the next week and you mess it up again, and pretty soon before you know it, that coyote's like, yeah, this is like, 4 weeks in a row, or even more. I don't know. Some guys might go out even more than that,
right.
You know? Yeah, you can't expect like you're going to do great, right? So yeah, I try to, all my ranches, if I can hit them 2 or 3 times a winter, that's usually about right. Hit them once early. And because you get a fluctuation of coyotes, early on in the fall, you have ag still in and stuff.
Sure.
So the coyotes will be down in the cornfields and out and that stuff. And then once that cut, they get pushed into the pasture country and down into the river bottom and stuff like that. And then you maybe come back in the middle of the season now, you get that little fluctuation of a coyote movement. And then maybe save it once for late in the season, February, when the breeding season kind of kicks in. And, now those coyotes are switching gears a little bit. They're a little more aggressive, some of them. And you can kind of come back in and maybe get a few of those thinned out, So.
That's all good stuff. And Geoff, you've really done a good job of we've all got equipment, but here's how to maximize it. And I feel like that's the stuff people need to hear, because it's so fun and it's so addicting. That's the thing. It's like going fast on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
It's hard to not do that. When you get a coyote that's committed to the call and is coming, oh my gosh. There's few things that I've done as a hunter, and I've hunted all over. There's few things that are as exciting as setting up, you're back against the sandhill, hitting the call, and 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 minutes in, there's one so committed, you can get away with murder. You could be waving a flag, and they're coming to that call, and you've beat an animal who you beat every instinct he has, and he's coming. And man, that feels good. And then when you can get him at 20, 30, 40, 50 yards, oh, it's great.
Yeah, there's nothing like it. I mean, people ask me all the time, well, why do you give away your secrets? It's the business I'm in, right? I mean, I felt like, but early on as a coyote hunter, I would go to these contests and I was not good at it, and I would see these guys and wow, and I'd try to talk to them and they were just grumpy old dudes and be like, pretty much like, screw you, like you need to figure out this for yourself, And you hit the nail on the head. It's, to me, there's nothing more awesome than watching coyotes bomb in. And I want everybody because I get stories, man, I've been out for 30 stands, I haven't even seen a coyote come in. I'm like, damn, dude, you're pretty dedicated, but that sucks. I want you to experience this, right? Like, so I've never felt like this was a big secret. Like, if I can make you a better coyote hunter, great.
Yeah.
That's one thing about it. Coyotes are going to replenish themselves, right?
Yeah.
From a small standpoint, the coyotes get knocked down, but guess what? Next year, boom,
they're back.
They can regulate litter sizes. There's going to be plenty of. It's not like the deer and turkeys and stuff like that. So I hope everybody's an awesome coyote hunter and gets to experience this stuff.
It feels like we've done some podcasts on this show, kind of dispelling or talking about myth and dogma. And it seems like you kind of have a similar thing with coyote hunting, where you like to dispel myth and dogma a little bit.
Yeah.
I like that similarity.
Yeah. Well, this is the last point. How do I kill more coyotes? Take all of this to heart and then go to coyote college. Talk to us real quick. That's the last thing here.
Yeah. A long time ago, I started off in the early 2000s. I was doing some guided coyote hunts just in between. And about the time I really got serious about hunting coyotes. And we've talked about it just milling around this morning about, you guys have been talking about deer hunting, and I've been, busting your balls about that. Who's wasting, I hunt coyotes. That's all I do. I do hunt a little bit here and there, but if I have 70 days to hunt in the winter, I'm hunting coyotes 68 of them.
Yeah.
And that's how you get really good at it. But, early on when I started doing guided coyote hunts, I realized these guys were under the misconception that it was awesome all the time. It's like hunting, right? I mean, there's days, I'll go out, like I said, we hunt all day, kill 2, 1. You run into wind, different factors, but then you never know when that next day is going to be, where it's a 10, 12, whatever coyote day, or even 6 or 7 is an awesome day,
Mm-hmm.
And so then I thought, what? As I start to look through, in the early 2000s, the internet was kind of coming alive, and Facebook and that kind of stuff. And I thought, man, there's really no other way to learn this stuff. And I thought, well, maybe I can teach this stuff. I've come from a family of teachers. I love coaching. So I thought, what? If I can articulate and explain to people how I'm doing things in a way that they can understand it and apply it themselves and become better coyote hunters without having to go through all the trial and error. Trial and error still there's no substitute for that, right?
Right.
But let's face it, man, most guys do not have the time to get really good at this.
Yep.
Sure.
But if I can make you a little bit better, that you have a little more success in your limited time that you can go out, why not, right?
Right.
And that's really where the Coyote College was born, and it's in-person classes. Over the last 5 or 6 years with the popularity of The Last Stand, those spots fill up, within an hour when I release them. So there was a huge demand. So just last year we launched the online version.
Right.
So it's a membership-based fee. Basically everything that I talk about in the in-person course, minus the hunting. That's the cool part about the in-person, is we come to a day of class and then we go out hunting for 2 days, which is cool. That obviously we can't do that on online, but you can still get all the knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And then one thing we do on there is, on top of all there's 20 plus hours of content on there now, and it's in a format where you can watch a video and then it keeps track of your progress through the site. You can go back and rewatch stuff. You can make a comment on the class, and I'm the only one that can answer it. So it's almost like you're communicating with the instructor, in a college class and things like that. And then there's exclusive Last Stand episodes on there that we were just down filming in Kansas, which was only for that.
Okay.
So those are filmed
cool.
a little bit different. So YouTube's a unique animal where I get hammered all the time in the comments about talking too much, right? And I'm like, well, how can you explain this if I'm not talking about it, right? So there's a fine line between entertainment and
Education
on YouTube, right? Well, the cool part about this is these are guys that want to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So I can take where you have a 20-minute episode for a day on YouTube, I can turn that into an hour episode. I can do on there, we do full-length stands from start to finish. We'll hit record on the camera, and the camera will record for 12, 15 minutes straight of me just talking through, hey, all right, we're at 2 minutes. I'm switching to this sound. This is a sound, this with the volume at. So people get to actually sit on a stand. So is that cool? I killed a wolf in Alberta. That's on there. It's an exclusive episode, So I've been all doing that. And then another cool thing we do is I do monthly live webinars on there with members.
Okay.
So once a month, I send out an email blast, say, hey, 7 o'clock Tuesday night, jump on if you want. It's live, and it's just like this, man.
Oh,
just
that's
guys
cool.
jump on a Zoom call, and there's maybe 10 or 15, 20 guys, and they can just, almost like a seminar almost, they can bounce questions off me. I'll tell them what's been going on in the world of coyote hunting, and we'll record those and put those on there every month. So if you can't make it, it's new content coming all the time. And, partnership discounts, and we got some Hornady stuff on there.
Where do people go to find about the Coyote Craze College?
Well, if they go to my website, which is coyotecraze.com, that'll show you the in-person coyote stuff, and it'll have links to the online stuff as well.
Okay.
Coyoteclass.com is where you can go right to there. And,
probably not covered by the VA. Yeah.
Yeah, I should have a little. You can get your PhD,
bill.
your predator hunting degree. I should email that to you after you completed the course.
Awesome. Well, Geoff, I do appreciate you. Giving out your secrets.
Sorry, guys. No secret sound, but
yeah.
Well,
let's go put this into practice. It's that time of year. We're coming into our Nebraska rifle season's over. We've got December, January, February, where coyote hunting is. That's top of mind right now for a lot of people.
Yeah, big game seasons are out west everywhere. In the East, Midwest, you got some later deer seasons, but for now, this is the time to get out there right now.
I love it. Preston, any more questions for Geoff? And Geoff, any last thing for the listener?
I'm just ready to go educate some coyotes.
Go educate some coyotes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
No, it's been great, guys. So if you want to follow along, like I said, Instagram, I always post just kind of stories and fun stuff out. You want to see a bunch of coyotes getting whacked. And,
Yep. Sign me up.
Just fun stuff happening throughout the day, when we're out calling coyotes, because it is unique. I think a lot of guys don't hunt coyotes like all day. The more I'm around coyote hunters, I realize that that's kind of a unique thing. Like when I go out, I'm gone like all day. Like some guys run out for a few hours at night or a few hours in the morning. It gets windy and they quit. It's like, we're here. Like, let's just hunt. It's probably a combination of the filming and just where we live. You're driving a long ways to hunt, stuff like that. But yeah, you want to follow along, man.
Check it out. Yeah, at Geoff Nemnich for
Yep,
Instagram.
Or at the Last Stand.
Okay,
The Last Stand official Instagram page. I run that one as well.
Okay.
So yeah, man, coyote content. That's where it's at.
I love it, guys. Well, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for being on the show.
Appreciate being here, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, hopefully these tips and tactics will help you kill more coyotes. You heard it here from the man himself, Geoff Nemnich. Check him out at The Last Stand. Check out the Coyote College to help make you a better coyote hunter. We thank you for listening. We'll catch you on the next one.